Every emotion we carry, every thought we think, and every belief we hold emits an energy that shapes the reality around us. This isn't some mystical illusion, it's the unseen current that flows between human beings. When you operate from insecurity, when you crave validation or chase after his attention, you unknowingly project a frequency of lack, and that lack repels what you want most. But when you move from a state of deep self-worth, something shifts within you. Your energy becomes magnetic. You no longer reach outward for love. Instead, you radiate it. This shift is powerful because it's invisible, and that's exactly why it affects him on a level he doesn't consciously understand. He feels something different around you. Calmer, more alive, more centered, and though he cannot put it into words, he begins to associate that feeling with your presence. It's like tuning into a radio frequency. When you're vibrating on the wavelength of fear or doubt, you can only attract more experiences that match that vibration. But when you tune into the vibration of self-assurance, serenity, and quiet confidence, you become the station that everyone wants to listen to. He feels your energy even in silence. He feels it when you walk into a room, when you smile without seeking approval, when you speak from a place of authenticity instead of performance. Your energy tells him that you are whole, that you are not waiting to be chosen. And this frequency touches something buried within him, something ancient. It stirs the parts of him that crave emotional safety but never found it. Men are not moved by logic when it comes to love, they are moved by feeling. And feeling is shaped by energy. The moment you align your energy with your worth, you stop begging for love and start commanding it through your presence alone. You no longer have to explain your value or convince him of your importance. He senses it, he feels it, and it lingers in his body like a song he can't stop humming. Your vibration speaks to his subconscious. It reminds him of peace, of a nurturing warmth he's never been able to find in the chaos of life. That is why, without even understanding why, he begins to feel connected to you in ways he never expected. When you master your emotional frequency, you step into a different dimension of power. This is where words lose importance because your energy says everything. You could sit beside him in silence and he would still feel you. You could walk away and he would still feel your absence like a void in his chest. You're no longer reacting to his moods or trying to prove your love. You are simply existing in a vibration so high that he can't help but rise to meet it. He will begin to think of you not because you're constantly reminding him, but because your energy left an imprint on him. Your frequency becomes the echo he can't escape, the emotional melody that keeps replaying in his heart, making him ache for you without even knowing why. When you finally release the grip of needing him, when you stop chasing validation and pull your energy inward, a quiet alchemy begins to unfold. Detachment is not about indifference. It's about reclaiming your emotional center. It's about remembering that your value was never meant to be measured by how much attention he gives you. The more you cling, the more he feels suffocated by the invisible pressure of your need. But the moment you let go, truly let go, something profound happens. He begins to feel a void that your energy once filled. The silence you create is louder than any words you could ever speak. It moves through his subconscious, unsettling him, making him wonder where your energy went, why his world suddenly feels less alive. When you detach, you shift the dynamic of power. Before, your attention was freely given, constantly available, constantly chasing connection. That constant pursuit made him feel secure, too secure. He knew you would always be there, waiting, ready to fill in the space. But when you stop doing that, when you redirect that energy back into yourself, into your peace, your joy, your purpose, you become unpredictable again. Your absence becomes a mirror that forces him to confront his own emotions. It makes him realize how much he had taken for granted the light you brought into his life. He may try to distract himself, drown it out, pretend he doesn't notice, But the truth is, the human heart recognizes when a powerful presence withdraws. Men are wired to chase mystery and value what feels slightly out of reach. Detachment activates that primal instinct. He begins to feel the emotional space you once filled, but this time he cannot access it by demand. He doesn't know why your silence feels so heavy, why his thoughts keep circling back to you when he least expects it. It's because detachment shifts the energetic polarity. The energy that once chased now draws in. Your stillness becomes the magnet, and his restlessness becomes the motion. What once felt predictable now feels uncertain, and that uncertainty awakens curiosity, longing, even desire. This is the paradox of attraction. The less you try to control it, the more powerful it becomes. When you're no longer grasping, you're free. You move with grace, with self-assurance, with a quiet confidence that speaks louder than effort ever could. He feels that change before he can define it. He senses that you're no longer orbiting around him, and that awareness begins to stir something deep inside. He wonders if you've moved on, if you still care, if you ever truly needed him at all. Those questions ignite an emotional tension he cannot soothe. He'll remember the way your energy used to fill his world, and he'll start to miss the ease of your attention. But now that you've pulled it back, he'll feel the ache of its absence like a haunting presence in his chest, driving him to crave what he can no longer claim. So easily every man carries within him an invisible map, a subconscious design of what love should feel like, what safety should sound like, and what emotional intimacy should mean. Most of the time, he doesn't even know this map exists. It was written in his earliest years, shaped by how he was comforted, how he was seen, how he was allowed to feel. But when you, in your quiet power, mirror back the essence of what his soul has been craving, the understanding, the softness, the calm acceptance, you awaken something he thought was lost. It isn't about manipulation or pretending to be someone else. It's about reflecting back his deepest emotional language in a way that makes him feel recognized without having to explain himself. This is the secret to emotional resonance, the kind that bypasses logic and touches him where he cannot guard himself. When you mirror his subconscious desires, you're not feeding his ego. You're speaking directly to the part of him that yearns to be seen for who he really is. Maybe he has always felt that he needed to perform, to prove, to act strong, to suppress the tenderness that lives under his armor. But when he meets a presence that sees beyond that, a woman who can hold space for his contradictions without judgment, it disarms him. He feels an unfamiliar sense of peace. His defenses lower not because he chooses to, but because they no longer feel necessary. He doesn't understand it. He only knows that when he's around you, he feels more like himself. That feeling is rare. That feeling becomes addictive. It's not what you say that moves him. It's what you reflect. When you listen without rushing to fix, when you smile without demanding, when you allow silence to stretch without fear, you mirror emotional safety. You remind him of something primal. That connection doesn't require effort. That love can be ease. That being seen can feel like coming home. Your presence becomes a mirror through which he sees the man he wants to be. You're not rescuing him or mothering him. You're simply holding up an energetic reflection of his own depth. And in that reflection, he feels whole. This reflection doesn't happen through constant talking or overgiving. It's in your tone when you speak truth without force. It's in your body language when you lean back and allow space. It's in your eyes when you see through his words to the emotion beneath them. You become the calm he didn't know he was searching for. This kind of mirroring reaches beyond attraction. It becomes transformation. It's not about making him love you. It's about awakening the part of him that is capable of love. And when that part wakes up, he feels it like a wave, heavy and unexplainable, washing through his chest. He may not cry openly, But his heart trembles with the realization that he's finally felt something real, something he can't rationalize or escape, something that feels like remembering who he truly is. There is a reason the most unforgettable connections are never constant, never flat, never predictable. They move like tides, rising, falling, retreating, returning. This rhythm creates contrast, and contrast creates emotion. When you can embody light and warmth in one moment, then silence and space in another, you give him something that no words or gestures could ever replace: emotional texture. Most relationships lose their spark because they become too comfortable, too certain, too familiar. The nervous system stops responding when there's nothing new to anticipate. But when your presence carries emotional contrast, when you can be nurturing yet independent, expressive yet grounded, open yet mysterious, you awaken a part of him that cannot rest. You make him feel alive, uncertain, curious, pulled toward you without even knowing why. Men are drawn to contrast because it mirrors life itself. No sunrise without darkness. No stillness without movement, no desire without distance. Emotional contrast touches the same primal part of him that once chased adventure and challenge. When you can offer warmth that feels earned, silence that feels intentional, and affection that feels sacred instead of constant, he experiences something rare: emotional depth. It's in that depth that attachment grows stronger. He doesn't fall for you because you're always available. He falls for you because your presence carries layers he can't fully understand. Your silence doesn't push him away. It gives meaning to your words when you choose to speak again. This dance between connection and distance is not a game, it's an art. It's the balance of giving enough to open his heart, but leaving enough mystery to keep it beating faster. When you pull back slightly, when you pause, when you allow moments of space to settle between you, you give him the room to feel his own emotions. He begins to miss you, not because you're gone, but because your absence awakens the memory of your presence. The warmth of your laughter, the softness of your voice, the energy of your touch, all of it becomes amplified in your absence. The emotional contrast sharpens the edges of his memory, making each moment with you feel more vivid, more significant. Men crave challenge, not confrontation. They crave variety, not volatility. Emotional contrast provides both in a way that feels natural, magnetic, irresistible. When you can express joy without losing your composure, passion without losing your power, vulnerability without losing your boundaries, you create polarity. That electric tension that keeps attraction alive. He may not understand why he feels drawn to you again and again, but it's because you embody both comfort and mystery. You remind him of peace, yet you stir his desire. You bring stillness, yet ignite motion. It's this balance that makes your presence unforgettable. The unpredictability of your energy becomes his emotional addiction, and he will chase the feeling of that rhythm long after the moment has passed. Trying to decode what it is about you that moves him so deeply every single time, there is a silent force that exists beyond charm, beyond words, beyond beauty. It's the power of stillness. True attraction is not born from how much you do or how loudly you express yourself. It's born from the energy you hold when you do nothing at all. When you embody inner stillness, you stop chasing connection and start radiating it. There's a depth in your calm that speaks louder than any declaration of love ever could. This kind of energy doesn't scream for attention. It commands it. It's a quiet confidence that says, "I am enough, even in silence." When a woman holds herself in stillness, a man's entire nervous system responds. He feels the peace in her energy, the steadiness in her presence, and something in him begins to unravel. He doesn't know why his chest tightens or why he feels safe and unsteady at the same time. He only knows that her calm feels like home. Stillness is not passivity, it is power contained. It is the art of not reacting when the world tries to pull you out of yourself. When you are rooted in your own peace, his moods, his words, his distance no longer shake you. You remain grounded, and that groundedness creates polarity. Men are instinctively drawn to women who hold emotional composure because it represents something they unconsciously crave: stability. Most men spend their lives striving, chasing, performing. Their energy is constantly in motion, seeking purpose, success, and validation. When they meet a woman who embodies inner stillness, it's like stepping into sacred ground. Her energy reminds him of what he's been missing: rest, peace, and emotional safety. This stillness doesn't come from pretending not to care. It comes from knowing your worth so deeply that no external circumstance can define it. It's the pause between words, the softness in your breathing, the way you listen without fear, the way your energy remains unbothered when chaos unfolds. That serenity has a gravitational pull. It draws him in, disarms him, and makes him feel emotions he cannot explain. The stillness becomes magnetic because it holds mystery. It tells him that your happiness isn't dependent on him, that your world doesn't crumble when he withdraws. That quiet independence awakens respect in him. It makes him want to protect your peace instead of disturb it. When you embody inner stillness, you become the emotional anchor in the storm. He might test your calm without realizing it. He might distance himself just to feel if your energy will follow. But when you remain still, when you choose silence over chasing, reflection over reaction, you communicate strength in a way that his body understands more than his mind. He begins to feel small in the presence of your calm, not because you diminish him, but because your energy invites him to rise higher. He'll sense that being around you softens his edges, slows his pace, steadies his breath. And in that stillness, his heart begins to ache. Not from pain, but from recognition. Recognition that he's touched something pure, something steady, something sacred he can't find anywhere else. Every man, no matter how logical or composed he appears, is searching for a feeling, not for perfection, not for control, but for an emotion that brings him back to life. The truth is, he doesn't fall for how you look, what you say, or even what you do. He falls for the emotional experience you create within him. He falls for how he feels in your presence. When your energy reflects warmth, freedom, and mystery, you become an emotion he wants to return to again and again. You become the sensation of peace after chaos, of laughter after silence, of belonging without effort. He might not understand it, but he feels it deeply. He doesn't crave you because you complete him. He craves you because your energy awakens parts of himself that he didn't know were sleeping. To be the emotion he wants to feel means to embody the essence of what his soul is hungry for. Every man desires to feel accepted without being judged, admired without being needed, and inspired without being pressured. When your energy offers that balance, soft yet strong, open yet self-contained, it reaches him beyond the level of attraction. It touches his identity. He feels more like the man he wants to be when he's around you. You don't have to tell him what he means to you or constantly remind him of your affection. Your presence already does that. Your energy becomes a sanctuary where he feels both safe and alive. And the irony is, he won't be able to articulate why. He'll just know that when you're gone, something essential feels missing. This isn't about pretending or performing. It's about alignment. When your inner world is filled with self, love, calm, and purpose, your outer energy reflects that, and he feels it immediately. He senses the freedom in your spirit, the confidence in your silence, and the emotional intelligence in your responses. You don't need to be overly available, overly expressive, or overly understanding. Your very essence becomes enough. You show him what emotional maturity feels like without teaching it. You show him what love feels like without defining it. And because most men live in a world of constant doing, your being becomes irresistible. To be the emotion he wants to feel, you must stop trying to please and start simply existing as your most grounded, radiant self. You become his emotional mirror. When you are calm, he feels grounded. When you are joyful, he feels inspired. When you are mysterious, he feels alive. You become his emotional rhythm, the song that his soul unconsciously hums when he's alone. And the more he feels this emotional connection, the more it stirs something deep in his chest. A quiet ache, a sense of nostalgia, a longing that doesn't make sense. He might lie awake at night, thinking about you, feeling the echo of your presence. Not because of what you did or said, but because your energy awakened the emotion he didn't know he'd been waiting his whole life to feel.